How'd you come across that name?
You know, we went through a bunch of names, and I like the idea of a famous person's name for it. I think that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other criteria it needed to match was when we were talking about the two dogs, it needed to sound like grandparents. And so we have Ivy. So I thought Bill and Ivy was a funny, like, if we're talking about Bill and Ivy, we could be talking about our grandparents.
Sure. We literally call him Bill Murray at the facility.
That's awesome.
That's what we call him too.
We just go by his full name. It's Bill Murray. So.
He's got a dog tag coming, which he hasn't gotten yet, which is just a picture, like a silhouette of Bill Murray. So when he gets it, it doesn't even say the name. It'll just be the picture. It's so good.
That's awesome. So he recently got neutered, right?
Yeah.
He was recently neutered. He's getting big. He's starting to fill out. How big are you guys expecting him to get?
It's hard to say. I had 2 American Bulldogs in the past, and he falls somewhere in between the both of them, and they were over 100. So
okay.
If we can keep him healthy and lean, I would hopefully want to keep him around 100.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I don't want him to get, too top heavy.
It's hard to gauge based on, like, as you saw his dad,
mm-hmm.
and his dad was a big boy. So
mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's going to be 110.
His dad was also a working dog, though. So he was, outside working and doing things all the time.
What'd they have him do?
He's from New Mexico. I found a breeder that was out there that trains them for hog hunting and like a myriad of other weird southern activities.
Sure.
But they also do conservation efforts because, as you know, big dogs like Bill and similar breeds take a skilled owner. And a lot of times people don't realize when they get them as puppies how big and powerful and, astute they can be. So they end up in shelters. So they try to make sure that they're snagging up ones in shelters that, don't get misunderstood and providing them with either, a family home or a working environment where they can thrive. So I like that about them. And they snag up pregnant mamas and, they just don't want them to be misunderstood. So
yeah. For Bill, does he have any of that? I haven't seen it from what I've seen of him, but any of that working drive that you know of, or is he more of like a family pet?
It's interesting you say that because his whole litter, I think they're coming on these speakers. His whole litter had a really mild temperament, and they're more the whole litter was family oriented. Now there was a pregnant mom that they pulled from a shelter, and all of the puppies had a really heavy prey drive. Mm-hmm. So we haven't seen it at all with him. Mm-hmm. Recently, which is why I thought, it's time to get him neutered and time to get him big boy trained, is he's starting to become a little, I don't want to say leash reactive because I think I'm using my words incorrectly, but he's excitable on the leash. Mm-hmm. We've been taking him to the dog park. He's fantastic. I know he's really great at school. But he's starting to want to play with everyone and needing to learn the appropriate boundaries on a leash. So that's the only reactivity that I've seen, but I wouldn't even equate it with working or prey drive. He just kind of is
we saw videos of all the puppies before we made our choices to which one we were gonna try to select. And Bill was the one that was he would grab his stuff and go hang in the corner, even as a little puppy. So in fact, the breeders were real excited when he was maybe 3 or 4 weeks old. He finally stood up for himself and for his food. And so he doesn't have a huge prey drive. He's you know, what we've seen at the dog parks is he's kind of a loner, but also wants to hang out with everybody. So he definitely wants to go up and say hey to everybody.
Oh,
They always want to play when I'm. It's like what my work day looks like when they're both home. They sleep when I'm off the phone, and then they want to party when I'm on it. So sorry for the background.
that's fine. Okay. And then for Bill, like, how much control are you trying to obtain with him?
You know, being big and being in the city, I think it's important that he has manners. I know that you guys spend, you know, quite a bit of time with him, and I would like him to have the, you know, the duration work and, you know, some of the off leash, I guess training, because we do want to take him camping. I do want, you know, he's big. I don't want to not have the control that I need to have over him. I am not the most alpha person, but I did, you know, I managed with my other two. I had them, you know, trained, and it was a requirement. There was a lot of behaviors I had to modify, but being big dogs, and I had to allow them to thrive. So not controlling fear and anxiety was not in the cards for them, and I just don't want him to fall into a bad category. So, you know, I'd say moderate control, but he's a good, you know, he's a good boy. I think he's retained a lot that he learned from Maddie in puppy school, and we try to reinforce it at home. We do have an English bulldog who is the definition of fear and anxiety, but I think they're kind of balancing each other out, and we can probably apply some of the learnings to her, if not enroll her in the program next.
Yeah, the one thing that I would definitely like out of the training is he's very reactive to her. So if I'm sitting outside on the balcony with both of them, any noise like somebody walking through the alley, she starts barking at that person, and then he jumps up to see what's going on. If the neighbors come home, he doesn't always do it, but if Ivy starts barking, he then is like, all right, something's happening, we got to fix this. And I mean, Ivy has bad behavior, some bad behavior, and I would like to, and I don't know if maybe that's what needs to be fixed in Ivy, but having Bill not be reactive like that would be great.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Anything else?
You know, I mean, I don't want him to be a strict, crazy, you know, rule following dog either. I mean, we're both pretty freewheeling, and I like that he's playful, and I like that he's curious and all that. But you know, to not scare anybody when we're walking down the street, for him to stay on task with a walk, and for him to be able to play, but to be able to grab control of the situation should something arise, like another dog at a dog park were to aggravate him in some way, to be able to get him to calm down. That's you know, that's a big deal for me.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think, you know, generally, I think through this whole process, you know, we'll probably learn some good things to adjust in our behaviors as well. You know, there's a reason why we send them to you. So,
Yeah, we've not seen anything from Bill.
he's a good boy.
Yeah, we've not seen any, I don't think we've seen any kind of agitation from him, aggravation.
Yeah.
He plays well. So yeah, so I mean, if we did, like, the handlers would let you know. And you guys know how we train regarding like dogs over 6 months. We use prong and remote collar. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll explain everything and why we do that, and then like where you kind of fall with everything, in terms of what I would suggest for like programming.
Sure.
So, prong collar, I incorporate. I don't really use it a whole lot anymore. I mainly use it for my clients that need a little bit more leverage. So like, for instance, we had someone who did a 2-week board and train with us. The guy's like 78 years old, and he's got like 100-pound dog reactive German Shepherd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that dog's on both remote and prong collar because the prong allows him immediate physical leverage, where the e-collar allows him to stop his dog at the press of a button. Okay. So that's usually how it works out. They're perfectly safe to use. They actually work really well together. But the reason why I do solely remote collar is the more people use the leash, the more they become dependent on it, the dog as well. So as soon as we get the concepts down, I start weaning the human and the dog away from the leash. Because ultimately, if Bill Murray's off leash, the tool that you're going to have is a remote. But if you're so used to using the leash, people's inclination is typically grab the leash or grab the dog, as opposed to it's my remote. Okay. So all the stuff that he did with Maddie and Enrique with the puppy head start, it's real basic foundational stuff, shaping things, you and all that. But then once you get outside into the real world where there's like other distractions, other dogs, people, sense, it can fall short, because if what he's wanting is more rewarding than what's in your hand, you kind of stuck.
Totally. We've had that on approach to the dog park.
Yes. So that's
because
where
suddenly doesn't care about the treats anymore.
Right. Because he only goes to the dog park, so many times a week or so many times a day, and it's a limited resource, right?
Yeah.
So the value is going to be much greater. So that's where basics come into play, like prong remote collar. Remote collar is simply, or e-collar, is a miniaturized TENS unit. Are you guys familiar with e-collar technology and what it is?
I'm not familiar with the technology. I know what they are, though.
Okay. It's like, so they use the technology on humans. If you've ever been to a chiropractor or physical therapist, with the circles, with the wires, and they move the muscles.
Oh, okay.
If you've ever watched TV, there's like an infomercial that's like, work out your abs as you watch TV. Yeah. That's the technology. Okay. So people, it's kind of been misnomered as like a shock collar, which creates the impression that you're electrocuting your dog, which is not the case. It's electricity. It's electric, but not electricity is how I describe it. Okay. So it's not like sticking your finger in an outlet. It's not like being tasered or anything like that. It's a centralized current that only stimulates the muscles that it's making contact with. So in Bill Murray's case, it'd be on his neck. So you'd only see his muscle on the neck twitch. Okay. So the reason why I opt for this tool is, one, right off the bat, you get off-leash control. And other tools, you either need the leash or you need, like with the food, if you're waving chicken or something, you need something. With this, on or off leash, it doesn't matter. I have contact with the dog. Two, it's very non-confrontational. With prong collar, a lot of people have issues with like pulling the prong to create the body motion to correct their dog. Whereas with e-collar, it's the press of a button, so there's some kind of disconnect there. The dog doesn't know where it's coming from. So like when we work with our fear aggression cases, when we do remote collar, the dog has no idea who's correcting them. So it allows us to correct the fear, but still keep us as a neutral to kind of condition the dog that, yes, I'm someone you can trust. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. Okay. But we still have to stop the aggression out of it. So the other thing is physical strength, size of the owner really doesn't matter. So like e-collar can bridge the gap on a lot of things. So I just mentioned that older gentleman with the German Shepherd, right? I also worked with like a young lady. She lives in Bucktown. She's like maybe 90, 100 pounds. She had a 150-pound Great Dane, and he was dog reactive. And she lived in Bucktown, where there's a lot of dogs. So that dog was on prong and e-collar, and because she could turn the corner and just be confronted by a dog. So having the prong allowed her to stop her dog immediately, and the e-collar allowed her to correct any behavior without relying on physical strength or anything. Okay. Also, it's pretty straightforward. A lot of it's just common sense. I've broken it down to a pretty simple and effective like methodology where we just kind of build on things. Because Bill Murray's case is pretty straightforward. You have a couple of behavioral things, but they're nothing major. Okay. So the obedience stuff is what takes time because we have to teach him what to do. So with remote collar, I don't actually even touch the dog anymore if we're doing in-person training. You would just show up with Bill Murray and all your tools, and I coach you through everything, and they give you your homework. Okay. And that's like the major thing is that I don't, so like because of COVID, you know, a lot of things changed. And I used to train the dog in front of you to give you kind of an example and then give you the dog with the remote and then I would coach you through it. But the issue was I would do all the hard work. Okay.
Yeah.
So the dog tied the hard work to me, but didn't tie the hard work to the owner. But now, because I don't touch the dog, you do everything from beginning to end. Okay. So all the hard stuff, all the problem areas, you know, any behavioral things, you're all doing it yourself. So it all ties to you, nothing ties to me. Because Bill Murray does not know that I'm giving you instructions. Okay. So that's the greatest thing is that I've already trained, I don't know, in 10 years, like probably over 1,000 dogs. Like I don't need to train more. I have plenty of experience. So it's you guys need to learn this stuff. So it's really simple. You train as you live your life with Bill Murray. You know, heel or leash walking is the one thing that tends to be the fastest thing that people teach because we walk our dogs at least 3 times a day living in the city, the potty and whatnot. Recall tends to take the longest, which is become uncalled. Okay. So recall takes the longest because it requires you to go to the park, pop Bill Murray on a long leash, let him be Bill Murray, run around, chase squirrels or whatever, and then call him away from that. Or like if he's playing with dogs, call him away from playing with dogs. And you have to practice and keep practicing to proof it, to make it reliable. And that requires you to kind of go out your way to do that. Everything else, the sit, stay, down, and place command, it really just depends on how much you put into it. Because those 4 commands can be taught, can even be practiced inside the house.
Mhm.
So heel and recall are really the 2 commands that take the most effort. But heel, most people walk their dogs 3 times a day anyway, so that's not even much more homework. It's really the recall that requires the most homework in terms of what people have to do. Okay. So once I've taught you to train or we've taught Bill Murray the concepts, I give you homework and I say, apply this as you live your life with him the next week. Then you come back the following week. How are we doing? Are we having any issues? Is he having any issues? Do we need to tweak anything? Everything's good. Great. Now we work in the second half of heel because heel is 2 classes. First class, I focus on Bill Murray. The second class, I focus on you. And then by the 3rd class, we should be jumping into the recall. Okay. Because I try to get that in as soon as possible because I understand that it takes people the longest. So I want you to learn it so that this way you can start practicing. If you have any issues with that, you can ask it as we go along with the program. The other commands, sit, down, stay in place, are really kind of if you need them. So that in the trifecta of training, there's the walk with me, which is heel, the come to me, which is recall. And then I usually teach like place command as stationary control, which is don't move. Sit down and stay are kind of like if the owner wants it or needs it. They're not really like the most important in terms of functionality. Because there's 6 commands that need to be functional: sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. Heel, recall, and place command are like the recall and heel are the most important, and in place like the simplest stationary command that I teach people because it's just sending your dog to a bed and we don't care what they do, they just can't get off of the bed. So like a lot of the dogs you'll see like on our Instagram story, sometimes you'll see them on placemats, right? So they're doing duration work throughout the day as well. But that would allow you to go like take Bill Murray to like a restaurant and you can pop a towel down and tell him place and he'll go there and he'll stay within that boundary of that mat or whatever it is you use. He can sit, stand, lay down. He just cannot step off the area. Okay. Questions about any of that stuff?
Now, would you not recommend a board and train for him? Like if we wanted to send him for the board and train, so
You can do either or because I don't like doing board and trains when it's behavioral stuff. Okay. Now in Bill Murray's case, this is mainly obedience. The behavioral stuff you have is pretty straightforward. Because like if I have a dog that's like dog aggressive, again, we know how to work with them, but we have to educate the owner. So I'm always about educating the owner, right?
Sure.
So daycare and train and or board and train are options for Bill Murray because it's pretty much straightforward obedience.
Mhm.
And I'll give you the pros and cons to either. With in person, the pro is you learn a ton more.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I teach you stuff, you're hands-on, you go and practice for a week, you make mistakes, he makes mistakes, you come back, you ask questions, I answer them, we keep building on that, right? The con is it takes longer because I have to teach you to teach him.
Mhm.
The other con is right now I'm booking into July, I
Yeah.
believe. Last I spoke to Maria, and we already have a backlog of clients that she's still trying to get through. Okay. Um, the pro of a board and train is we get more done within a shorter time frame. So think of 3 weeks with or the 3 weeks of your time as 1 week of our time. Think of it that way. Okay.
Okay.
So like if we had Bill Murray for 2 weeks, that's equivalent to like 6 weeks of work on your part. Okay. Now the con is the training's tied to us. And now we have to transfer that training to you. Okay. So but the thing about e-collar is that it's very simple to transfer. Um, like you can watch any of our board and train videos where we follow up with the owners and you can just see it's like just handling the dog and then we just coach them through everything. The hardest part is bridging the gap.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's like buying a car that's souped up and has like all these buttons and things that it can do. And you're like, you've not read the manual. Okay. So the way we've done the board and train is we've altered it is for each week that we would have Bill Murray, you would get one video. Okay. The first video being the longest video. So if we have them for 2 weeks, for example, once Enrique covers all the commands and all the sections of the video, because we teach you how to recognize Bill Murray's what we call the working number, and this is all done with him. So you're learning it. You're learning what he's needing. Okay, and then all the commands: sit, stay down, come, play, seal, are broken down into different chunks. Okay, and Enrique goes over and essentially explains everything he's doing with Bill Murray. Um, to help you understand how it works and why it works. Okay. Now you can literally watch that video and then you could pick up Bill Murray and just practice what you've learned. Okay. And then you get your follow-ups. So if we have them for 2 weeks, the first one would be about an hour to hour and a half long in terms of the video because he's breaking down everything. The second video would show you Bill Murray at the like kind of midway through the second week, so you see his progress. Okay, so we record the first session of everything we teach because we want you to see Bill Murray raw. We want you to see how he responds, and there's possibly he could be a little flighty, he could be a little nervous, he could be a little anxious. Okay, now this does not mean that e-collar is bad. Okay, what this means is when Bill Murray is put under stress, that's his response. Okay, so fear, nervousness, anxiety, even aggression are stress responses. Okay, and I've had dogs that look completely stable, and then we do remote work with them, and then they look anxious. Okay, so the owner goes, "Oh, did the collar make my dog anxious?" I go, "No." I'm like, your dog wasn't an anxious dog. You just hadn't seen your dog under enough stress to see the anxiety. Okay, but we work them through that because let's say Bill Murray's off leash, he's at the park, and something spooks him, and he runs away in fear. And now you have that e-collar. If you've never worked him through fear, you're not going to get your dog back,
Mhm.
right? So in the videos, Enrique would explain like, oh, like, Bill Murray's a little flighty, and that's why he's doing this, and why he's doing that, and this is what I'm going to do to like address him, and this is what I'm going to do to help him work him through it, right? Is when people see their dog go under stress, they tend to want to lay off. Okay. And now the dog learns if I do this, pressure would turn off and I don't have to. Right. So that makes your obedience unreliable. We work the dog through everything. Okay. It could be a shit show. We work the dog through everything because in life, if something catches you off guard and we've not worked that dog through that context, we have a problem.
Mhm.
Okay. So we want to get our obedience as close to 100% as possible. So if we see something, we work them through it. I've not had a dog that I've not been able to train. Okay, pending the owner follows through with all this stuff, and he can
Yeah.
just take it like a champ and be no problem. we don't know. Even though from what I've seen from Bill Murray, he looks like a great stable dog. There's a chance that he could respond negatively to the stressor, and we have to work him through it. Okay. So by the second week, if he did 2, you would get another video, and now you see his progress from like the first session of everything that he learned to like, oh, okay, this is him 2 weeks in. He's like so much more confident, or he's a little flighty, but he's much better. And then Enrique's like explaining everything. So then if you were to pick him up at the end of your board and train, our suggestion is you just watch the videos and you practice. Okay. Now you can also do a follow-up lesson on the pickup, pending Enrique's availability, where he would, as you pick up Bill Murray, work with you on everything. Okay. And then you would take him home, and then what you learn from the follow-up lesson and the videos, you would just kind of go off and practice. But you get a number of follow-ups. I don't remember off the top of my head what they are for each week, but it's on the website. And the follow-ups can be used at any point. A lot of our clients only do the videos and maybe 1 or 2 follow-ups, and that's almost always sufficient for them. And then they just save the rest. So in 2 years' time, if you only use up 2 follow-ups and you have 2 left over, you're more than welcome to book a follow-up 2 years later or whatever on something. Questions about any of that?
No, that all sounds great.
Okay. Now, we do have the board and train and daycare and train options. The difference is a board and train would be Bill Murray's with us 24/7 for X amount of time. The daycare and train is the day of daycare. Okay. You can drop him off at 7 a.m. and pick him up by 7 p.m. And then during that time frame, he's doing both daycare fun stuff, but he's doing also a lot of training. Okay. Now, the amount of follow-ups you get with the daycare and train is less than a board and train. It's on the website, but you do get the same videos. Okay. So a week of daycare and train is considered 5 days. Okay. So there's 5, 10, 15, and 20-day packages, whereas the board and trains are by week, 1, 2, 3, and 4 programs. Okay.
Well, we're really leaning towards board and train for a couple of reasons. Number one, the training I think is going to be invaluable for him, and secondly, we're talking about going out of town, and I don't know if he's ready to come with us. I wouldn't feel comfortable with him like going hiking with us, through the mountains. I think at some point I think he would be great camping with us. But I've got a week of work in Charlotte, and then so from there, then we're going to road trip a little bit, and then she has a thing in Miami, so we're going to kind of just road trip in between there. And so that's honestly why this time frame seemed like a great time to do a board and train, because then we can get a really good training on him while we're occupied with some work stuff out of town.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that you're booked. So, if timing doesn't work and we need to shift some things, we can certainly just have, some boarding time with Bill, and then, come back and do the training, whatever works with the schedule and what you kind of recommend for him. Because I know that he's good. So I just don't want to.
Yeah. The board and trains and daycare and trains are easier to schedule in. And you can schedule in sooner. It's the in-person stuff that I'm booked out till July.
Got it.
And Enrique and all the staff work with the dogs.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm getting a new staff member coming on Monday as well, to help round out things a bit more.
That's great.
So yeah, the board and train, we only take 4 at a time. I think we have 2 right now. We have 1 coming, and if you're thinking of the future, you can
get it scheduled.
Yeah, you can get on the calendar, and we'll just block out that slot for you, so you have your spot there. And then it would be Kim and not Maria that would help you with the board and train, because Maria's sole job is just my calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, to help kind of.
I need somebody that just works my calendar. Actually, that's not true. I need a bunch of shit on my calendar, and then I can have somebody just deal with my calendar.
Yeah, I will message Kim because she messaged me the other day to get updated vaccine records for Bill.
Mhm.
So I can email her and try to get that scheduled for for a board and train. So what happens at nighttime? Do they just all do they go home with you and sleep in cozy beds next to you?
There's someone on premise at the facility, 24/7.
Oh, 24/7? Oh,
Yeah.
that's
You
wonderful.
know
I did
Corey?
not.
You probably met
Yes.
Corey when dropping off. Yeah, he
Yeah,
lives.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, that's great.
So, and I'm there from time to time as well. So,
Okay.
Bill's day is pretty much 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. That's his full day with the board and trains. So they get a little bit more work than the daycare and train dogs.
Yeah.
Plus, they also get to work on the weekends. That's why there's like a little bit of a difference in terms of the follow up and all that stuff. It's just because
Yeah.
we work a lot longer with the board and trains. But yeah, he would, usual stuff. If he boarded overnight, he'd be in a kennel and everything like that. But they're not left alone. There's someone on premise 24/7.
Bill's I don't know how needy he is with you guys, but he certainly can show his cuddly baby side at home. He does not sleep in a kennel at home. He gets into a very small, tiny little ball, and
He's got a pretty
like a
big
wedge on the chair.
He's got a pretty big Costco dog bed that he sleeps in. about 4 feet or maybe 3 feet from my face is where he sleeps. And then when I'm sitting out on the porch in like a single person rocker chair, he sits right next to me and then like lays onto my lap and sleeps with his head in my knees. And he's very lovey-dovey at times with me.
But then wants to go to school every day.
Yeah.
He's good. He's chill. He's quiet. He's a good pup.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like he really is good. When we take him out and walk him, and honestly, we don't walk him as often as we probably should. We have a porch potty here where he and Ivy, and we did that basically for Ivy because Ivy is just a shitty indoor dog.
Mhm.
And so like they go and peep and poop down there, and then we take him out. Where did he go? So he's so when he does get outside on leash, he's immediately pulling. And so I think the heel command is the that's the biggest concern, or that's the immediate concern for me, is that I really want him to figure that one out.
I want walking to be like, pleasurable for him. I want him to enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes, actually going to your question earlier, your statement about like like a robot dog, we don't want to create robots either.
Yeah.
But it's when you've given a command, like the 6 commands: sit, stay, down, come, place, heel, are meant to be functional.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you say heel, it means I can walk with my dog to the dog park and he's not going to pull my arm out. Or I can walk my dog through a farmer's market or a Petco or a Home Depot. My dog's at my hip. Or if we go to a restaurant and tell my dog to down, they're not going to move for 2 hours. Like that's how it's meant to be. But in the interim, in between those commands, and he's off the clock, Bill is still Bill.
Yeah.
Right? Just that if you told him to do something, his job is to perform it. So
now, is there? I've been trying to figure out for Ivy. Is there a shut the fuck up command? That's what I can't.
That's extra.
That's extra. Okay, what about on a grumpy 8-year-old English bulldog?
Yeah, because you're trying to correct the barking and stuff.
Yeah.
So Ivy has an interesting story. So I ended up with 4 dogs at one point. I inherited 2, and I had an American Bulldog, and then I got Ivy as a puppy, sort of as a replacement after bad relationship. But then I ended up getting 2 of the previous relationship dogs back. So rounded out at 4 dogs, 4 elderly dogs, or 3 elderly dogs and a puppy, and just me and a full-time job. So as the other 3 decided to decline and try to die on me all within 1 year, Ivy sort of fell by the wayside when it came to puppy training and such. But she was fine when she was a puppy. She followed the behaviors of my very well-trained adult dogs and took commands from them. And, you know, we were a nice, solid dog pack. I mean, it was a lot of dogs and a lot of work, but, you know, when I gave commands to the big boys, they listened, she followed, and it was, you know, a symbiotic thing. Now, I lost all 3 of them within 12 months of each other, and like all of her, it seemed like all of her commands went away. She became very agitated and fearful. She definitely went through a mourning period, and just seemed a little bit lost. And that's where her behavior issues started, was when like her whole family went away. Now she's okay at my mom's, and she was okay with my mom's dog. But when I moved from Michigan to Chicago, she started to struggle a lot, and we've seen her get a little better with Bill, but
She's getting a bunch better since Bill came over.
It's been like a nightmare of a couple, like I'd say like 2 years trying to get her adjusted.
She's the real problem, I think. Like,
she also came from, I lived in like the 6 in Michigan. I lived on a lake. I had a bunch of property. You know, we didn't use leashes. You know, my dogs were trained. I didn't really have to worry about that. And then we move Ivy to the city, and there's noises and smells and people and birds and things that annoy her. So it's been rough, but
yeah, that's not uncommon.
Yeah,
it happens quite a bit where people come from a smaller, quieter town, and then they move to the busy city of Chicago, and the dog will start to like have issues. They can be like, you can stop the barking and stuff, and that's something that Enrique would cover in the video and stuff, and you can just apply it to Ivy as well.
Okay.
And it doesn't, I mean, I train dogs. I have one right now that's a dachshund that would bite people, and he's 10 years old, and he's doing great. But the whole like age thing doesn't matter. They'll teach a dog new tricks, whatever. It's just a myth.
Well, I'll give you Ivy. You can just keep her.
I think Ivy would probably respond to you very well. It's so weird with her. You know, I had to warn the vet that she had quote unquote behavior issues, and she can be testy, and just FYI in case she sucks. And they love her, and she's an angel there. They're like, we don't know why you keep thinking that she has behavior problems. I'm like, send you a.
It's because she's out of her element. She's not in her territory.
Yeah. And she's fantastic at the vet. So
and she's good when she's not, you know, I don't know if it's something that she's just trying to protect the home, or if she's just trying to alert us that there's something over there that she's afraid of, or I don't know what it is, or she might just, you know, I don't know, she's just a grumpy Karen of a dog, you know. But we gave her a middle name, Karen, in the past year. Karen.
She's always writing the manager. I'm always being written up. I'm a terrible.
She had that haircut too.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Did you guys have any other questions?
No, but I really appreciate you liking Bill. And it makes me feel real good that he, you know, he's liked.
I think he's a solid dog.
Yeah.
So we took Bill. Bill went to his first dog park about a week and a half ago. As soon as we got to 2 weeks after the neuter, and Alexa was very nervous, just because like he can react to other dogs when they jump through the fence at him when we're walking or whatever. Yeah. And so he was great the first time. We took him to Montrose Beach also, and he fucking partied out there. He loved it there. So like he's really, you know, you guys have said that he's good and well behaved and polite. You know, the biggest thing I hear from anybody else is that he's so polite. And we hear all that, and then, you know, I think it's now just important that he be well trained and like have, you know, the ability like to sit on a mat at a restaurant, you know, or to be able to heel and to, you know, to follow commands, I think is incredibly important. So
yeah, we just want to give them the tools to be successful in life, like good parents.
Yeah. And then, you know, just so you know, like with the board and train, we get a lot of work done, right?
Yeah,
You still have work to do.
totally. Yeah.
Because that's one thing, you know, we get from time to time where people are like, oh, you're gonna train my dog and that's it, right? And I'm like, that's not how it works. Yeah.
Nope.
But I think Bill's a solid dog. He's a good temperament for what I've seen so far. So I don't think you're gonna have any issues with that stuff. And then when it comes to like, you know, at the park, if like a dog gets testy with him, like you can stop behaviors, so you can stop an escalation, or you can just pull him away from that dog, you know, using your recall or whatever.
Yeah.
And those are all things that you can get covered in the follow-up. You know, the videos that Enrique would make for you would be just to kind of show you what Bill has learned and how he's learned. And then all those like kind of more nuanced questions, you know, you're more than welcome to ask during the like follow-up sessions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
Anything else?
Oh,
What do I got to do to get a Canine Perspective T-shirt?
Oh, what size are you?
Large.
Do you like hot pink?
Fuck yeah!
I actually have some t-shirts that I got a long time ago. I'll see if I have it. I think I have large.
Or me, you know, I've been working out a lot. I could squeeze into a medium comfortably.
You know, I keep buying medium, hoping that it'll incentivize me to lose weight, and it hasn't worked yet.
It hasn't worked yet. I'll tell you, the COVID-19 goes both directions. People put on the COVID-19 or they lost the COVID-19.
I put on.
I lost.
I put on.
Awesome, guys. Anything else?
No, man, I feel real good about this. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So then I'll talk to Kim, and then you feel free to message her to get things rolling. So we'll go ahead and block out a spot for Bill Murray, so you don't have to worry about that. He'll be taken care of.
I love that you guys call him Bill Murray also.
Like literally, we call him Bill Murray.
I love it.
First and last name. And if you need anything else, you let us know, okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Good night.
Yeah. Thanks for the time, man.
Bye.